Little fun fact, I actually used to main Whitesnake. He was one of my 3 mains back in YBA. During the freaking Heian era of JoJo Roblox games, of course. And I played Whitesnake through the drought. I played Whitesnake when he was the worst stand in the game. And I stuck with him because I loved him. And he became good eventually, and it was worth it. It felt so good to play Whitesnake when he was finally buffed. Yeah, I don't feel the same with this iteration, however. Now, I have a prediction that in order to get Simun, we are going to have to kill people with Whitesnake. So, hence, this video is here to help you and give you tips on how to use Whitesnake. Probably. I'm going to try not to complain about Whitesnake the whole time. I promise. I promise I will try. A little disclaimer, similarly to the Star Platinum of the World video, you should go watch that, by the way. During the conclusion, I will suggest ways to help this stand out to make it a little better. So yeah, stay tuned till then if you want to see my ideas. Anywho, let's get on with it. Whitesnake is an all-rounder type of stand with a fast grab, a projectile. Yep, that's how I'm gonna go about it. Area control. However, unfortunately, Whitesnake lacks a lot when it comes to damage. His basic stats, his M1s and his barrage do very little damage, alongside with the fact that his moves also do very low damage when not buffed by any cards, leaving a lot to be desired. In general, Whitesnake is very, I don't want to say buggy, but kind of buggy and inconsistent. Once you play with Whitesnake for a while, you'll feel how weird he is. How certain moves don't work in certain times, or how certain moves won't hit your opponent even though it feels like they should. I will dig deeper into it later, but Whitesnake in general is just not a very good stand, unfortunately. But this is I'm talking about conclusion and strategies and stuff like that, so let me not spoil too much and move on to the showcase. Before getting into the moves, I will have to address Whitesnake's unique passive, Disc Removal. All of Whitesnake's melee attacks have the ability to pop out the enemy's stand disc. Doing so will disable their stand for 20 seconds, or until they pick the stand disc back up by physically walking over it. Do note that some attacks will push the stand disc out of the opponent's head, while other moves will fully remove it. So be wary for which one does what. I will try to remember to mention them as I go along. For his M1s, Whitesnake will do 3 punches that do 9 damage each, and a final knockback hit that does 12 damage and removes the stand disc. The basic punches will trigger the stand disc to push out of the head, however the final hit will be the one that forces it out. On E is your barrage. Whitesnake will do a short flurry of hits that do 1 damage per hit, a final knockback hit that should do around 10. I'm saying should because I have Boy with Fist. I don't feel like removing it. Someone fact check me, please. The individual 1 damage hits will push the enemy's stand disc out of their head, while the final hit will be the one that removes it. Barrage has a cooldown of 15 seconds. On R, you have head grab. Whitesnake will shoot out in front of you and grab the opponent. This will do an initial 5 damage and then a subsequent 15 damage. This move will immediately remove your opponent's stand disc and throw it really far away. This move has a cooldown of 12 seconds. On T is command disc. How the disc acts will change depending on if you hit or don't. If you hit the target, the opponent's screen will be turned purple and their controls will be inverted, so W would be S, D would be A, etc, etc. If you miss and hit some form of debris, the disc will explode and do 13 damage. This move has a cooldown of 15 seconds, no matter if you hit the move or if you miss it. On G, we have Melt Your Heart. Whitesnake will spit out 4 puddles that do damage over time. However, the spit itself has a hitbox that does 15 damage on contact, and the puddles themselves, when stood on, do 1.5 damage over time. If the opponent stands in these puddles for long enough, they will go to sleep, and they cannot be woken up if hit. So they're basically asleep for like ever until they die. Finally, we have Pilot. It's Pilot. Yep, anywho, that's enough about talking about the moves. Let's get on to the strategies and playstyles. I am just going to rip the band-aid off right here, right now. Stand disc removal is not very prevalent. To put it lightly, most players can fight without their stand simply due to how this game is. But I'll talk more about it later in the conclusion section, where I go over how I would fix Whitesnake. But for now, I will give you this tidbit. If you do remove your stand disc and you see that your opponent is desperately trying to get at it, you can cover it with your acid spit, melt your heart, and a Molotov. Or you could potentially use dynamite. Really, any sort of throwable that will just chip out your opponent will do wonders. I also recommend using your disc removal moves near any vertical surface, because when the disc flies out of the opponent's head, it is prone to sticking to vertical walls. So if it flies into the corner of the room, your opponent is basically forced to wait those 20 seconds. Hopefully that person is really carried by their stand, otherwise this really doesn't matter. But if you are fighting against someone and they are desperately trying to get their stand disc, these two tips should help you a bit. For the E, I can't lie to you, I really don't have tips for the barrage. It's a very basic barrage. It's a very slow barrage. It cannot deflect projectiles. Quite honestly, compared to a lot of other barrages in this game, it is not very good. But just use it like how you would any other barrage. Use it when your opponent is asleep at the wheel. You could potentially maybe try to combo it with head grab. If you throw them up against the wall, you could use your barrage, send out Whitesnake, and then just line up a shot afterwards. It's not a consistent combo, but let's be real, what is in this game, so it could work maybe and get you some decent damage. Lastly, do not use this move in pilot. It sucks and it will get you killed. For whatever reason, if you use barrage while in pilot, you'll be stuck in place and the long ass barrage animation will still play. So there's a good chance that if you use barrage while in pilot, you are going to miss, and the person you're fighting is going to attempt to close the distance in on your actual body. So please do not use your barrage while in pilot. It is really, really bad. Next is head grab. Head grab is a quick grab. It can bypass block, which is really good for anyone who is just playing really defensively. And this move also gives you a decent bit of freedom. What I mean by that is that when you grab the opponent, you're able to move them for a short period of time towards wherever you wish. So you can throw them into a corner, potentially use melt your heart or a Molotov, and get a lot of chip damage in just going for one move. The only issue is actually hitting the move. This move has an abysmal hitbox size. This move is extremely hard to hit. If you are to compare it to Silver Dagger's M2, you'll see that there is not much difference in between how far they reach, quite unfortunately. Speaking of Silver Dagger, if you are able to get a Silver Dagger M2 off, if you cancel it before the little kick, you can actually somewhat confirm head grab into it. This will net you, against a non-sturdy player, probably around 30% of the opponent's health. So not a bad combo if you can get it, but you have to get a Silver Dagger M2 off to even do it, which might be really hard against someone who doesn't want to get caught. And once again, this is going to be a trend. Do not use head grab while in pilot. The reason I say this is because if you do, when you grab the opponent will be teleported to wherever your body is. Your body can be in the middle of the ocean. If you use head grab, they will teleport to you, which obviously, if the only thing defending you is Whitesnake and your opponent teleports away from Whitesnake, you can imagine that, yeah, you're going to be in a very bad spot. If this glitch didn't exist, you could potentially use head grab to drag people away from your body, but that's not how it works. So just don't use head grab while in pilot. For command disc, my tip for you is to kind of ignore the hit variation. The reason why I say this is because the projectile is really slow, and trying to actually hit your opponent's spot on is probably not worth it. If you have the time to aim up a command disc, you probably should just be shooting your gun, because you have a higher chance of shooting your gun and doing more damage. Also, weirdly enough, whenever you do hit this move, it doesn't tell you how much damage it does, nor does it give much of an audio cue for when you do hit it. I mean, there is a small audio cue, but it's really weird. It doesn't give you any indication that you actually hit the move other than the opponent flinching ever so slightly. The back reversing your opponent's controls can be kind of useful. However, at least from my personal experience, whenever I am hit with a control disc, it takes maybe like 3 seconds for me to like recalibrate my brain to go like, okay, S makes me go forward, D makes me go left, A makes me go right. Okay, let me get behind cover, hide, heal up. And the thing is that this move doesn't prevent you from fighting back. So if you get hit by a disc, you can still shoot at your opponent. So if you're fighting up against the Tusk, they can still just click, click, click their way through your health, and you know, it doesn't really matter. I do recommend aiming at the floor though. The explosion has a pretty decent hitbox. It's a explosion, so what do you expect? And it does a bit of chip damage. Personally, how I like to use it is that if my opponent is hiding behind cover, I like to put myself behind cover, send my pilot out ever so slightly, and throw a disc from safety. Force them out of cover, do a little bit of chip damage. It's great. I told you this was going to be a trend. Well, technically not. You can use command disc safely while in pilot, though you are going to have to be careful for a reason I don't think I should be explaining right now, but for whatever reason you can hit yourself with the explosion of command disc while in pilot, but for whatever reason you can't while not in pilot. I don't know. Brulax, please fix this. It is so dumb. So yeah, just be careful when using this move in pilot. It's still pretty okay. Just try not to throw it at your feet. Melt Your Heart is probably your best damage dealing tool. Despite not doing the most damage, it is the most consistent. Consistent in quotes, because the hitbox on this move fucking sucks. It's long, which is good. However, it is definitely not accurate to the particles that this move produces. When you look at the move, you'd think it'd be like kind of like a triangle shaped hitbox, if you get what I'm trying to say, but it's a straight line forwards, so keep that in mind. Despite that though, it does decent enough damage. It has knockback, so it can push your opponent into the puddle that it creates, so you could do 15 damage and then the potential for a couple ticks of the acid. However, this is not guaranteed, so I will not tell you to rely on it. As an attack, this move is pretty decent. Good chip damage, decent range. It's fairly fast, a little slower than your grab, but it's worth it for the distance that you get. Now then, as an area denial tool, no. Why? Melt Your Heart is basically just a worse Molotov. It's smaller, it does less damage. Molotovs have the ability to be buffed by a card. Melt Your Heart doesn't, at least the tick damage portion of it. And it also doesn't do damage once the opponent steps off of it. So once they step off of it, they're done. No more tick damage. But with Molotovs, you step on the flame once, even if you step off of it immediately, you're still taking that burn damage. So yeah, quite honestly, if you're trying to use this move as an area denial tool, I would tell you do not do that. Just put down a Molotov. It'll do the same thing, but 10 times better, and will actually deter people. What about the sleep property? This move puts people to sleep. It does, but it takes a long ass time. The puddles last around 5, closer to 6 seconds. However, to fall asleep, the person has to stand in the puddle for 4 seconds, meaning that your opponent is going to have to probably sit in that puddle for damn near the entire duration of the move. So trying to get people to fall asleep is actually really freaking hard. And it's the fact that the puddles are pretty damn small, so if they walk over it, they're not going to get that many ticks of the sleepiness. So if they walk over it, nothing much is going to happen to them. The screen will get blurred up a little bit, but past that, they'll be fine. This move is okay as a damage dealer, but trying to use it for like what is probably its intended purpose as an area denial and to put people to sleep, yeah, no, it's not very good. Lastly is your pilot. Like I said before, do not use your barrage, do not use head grab. They are certain doom, please do not do it. T is okay, but be wary that you can hit yourself while in pilot with the explosion. So try not to do that. Don't make yourself look like an idiot like me. I have hit myself with too many stand discs for me to count at this point. Your G, however, is completely usable without any loops or weird shenanigans. Fuck, I'm honestly kind of surprised that you don't burn in your own acid while in pilot. Brulax, do not get any ideas. I don't know if what you're doing is on purpose. Please fix the stand. My one tip for pilot is that when you summon your stand hangs behind you. So what you can do is that you can put yourself up against the wall, summon your stand, and then summon your pilot. By doing so, your stand will be forced through the wall, meaning that you spare yourself some time, and you could possibly like hide your position. Instead of having Whitesnake run out directly from where you are, Whitesnake will essentially teleport through the wall, which is pretty useful sometimes. Another little tip for pilot is that you are actually faster than the average person while piloting. So depending on the situation, you could use Whitesnake pilot as a way to catch up to people if they are running away. However, you do have to remember that you do have a set distance that you can run, so this will probably be very situational, but you can use it to catch people. And well, if you're trying to get people to come back towards you, you could use head grab to teleport them back to your character. From there, you could summon your weapon and then finish them off. However, that is extremely dangerous and probably very stupid, and is probably considered bug abusing. So I wouldn't recommend doing this, but food for thought. Anywho, time to go on to the cards because I am done talking about this shitty ass stands move. First, I am just going to get this out of the way. I am not recommending. I am telling you to use Boy with Fist. Why? Use Boy with Fist is going to be the only thing that will allow you to at least somewhat think about contending against stronger stands such as Star Platinum, the World, D4C, any sort of high damaging melee stands. You're going to need Boy with Fist in order to at least somewhat compare to them. In the same vein, Anger Issues is also pretty good. Personally, I take Boy with Fist over it, but you could just run both. Actually go toe-to-toe with something like Star Platinum, maybe, possibly. The next set of talents I will recommend to you is Sturdy and Time Heals All Wounds. Whitesnake is not a good stand, so you are going to get your ass beat. Having some sort of survivability in terms of health, defense will definitely help a bit. In that same vein, Too Tired to Fall could also help as well, as you can reduce the damage that you take when you're low on stamina, so that could potentially work as well. Snake Eater and Sneaky Lowlife could also potentially help you, reason being, while in pilot, people are going to go buck fucking wild on you. So if you can hide your body and go invisible, you could potentially just get away with being in pilot and the opponent not being able to find you. Lastly, my pseudo recommendation is Demolition's Expert. The reason why I say pseudo is because your stand disc can blow people up. It can also blow yourself up if you're in pilot. So being able to reduce the damage to yourself while increasing the damage towards others can be useful. However, this would literally only affect one move, and I guess if you use dynamite a lot, it can be pretty useful for that as well. So I'm not saying not to get it, but I personally wouldn't use it. I am done talking about cards. Now let's talk about how I would fix the stand, and boy, we're gonna be here for a little while. So how would I fix this bitch ass stand? To start, I'm gonna pick up where I started. Stand disc removal. Don't touch it. To put it simply, stand disc removal isn't bad in the same way that Whitesnake as a whole is bad. Whitesnake is bad because it has low damage, inconsistent, and is weirdly buggy in places that he really shouldn't be. Those things are bad, but they are fixable through balance changes and reworks. However, stand disc removal is simply bad due to the game that it is in. To put it simply, unlike most JoJo games, Bridger Western's stands are not the centerpiece of your build. In this game, Bridger Western, your stand, depending on what build you're using, is maybe like 10 to 20% of your build. And then for some, the really dependent ones or the really hyper specific builds, maybe 40 to 50% of your build. But even then, you still have your cards to work with. So you're never completely stranded if your stand disc is taking away from you. You can still fight, and it's not unfair. You can still put up a decent fight against someone that has taken your stand disc away. So stand disc removal is simply not that powerful. Though stand disc removal is just not fixable without either one, breaking the game, or two, breaking stand disc removal and making it like the best thing in the game. So no, I don't think it needs to be changed. I just think Whitesnake needs to be made more consistent, and then that should be good enough. So how do we make Whitesnake more consistent? I will go move by move in order to streamline this, starting off with the barrage. The barrage is fine enough. It's a weaker barrage than normal, but Whitesnake isn't a brawler, so that is fine. However, I would like to remove the jankiness that Barrage has while in Pilot. For starters, make it so that it's a little bit faster while in Pilot, and two, make it so that you can move during the Barrage while in Pilot. It feels super weird when you use Barrage in Pilot, and then it just completely kills all momentum. And this also makes it like basically useless. For head grab is a fine move. Personally, I would add a slight lunge to the move so that you can extend the range, because as of right now, the range is pitiful. And then I would also fix the glitch that teleports your opponent to your body while in Pilot, so then you can actually, use the move in Pilot, because quite honestly, this move would increase in value tenfold if you could use it to drag people away from your body while in Pilot. But unfortunately, you can't do that right now. And then maybe a slight damage buff, but that might be reaching up a little bit. Command disc overall is fine enough. I would make the projectile just a tiny bit faster, just a little bit. And I would make the explosion not be able to hit you while in Pilot. Once again, just smoothing over the weird jankiness and the inconsistencies in order to make this stand just a bit better. Other than that, I don't think the inverse controls needs to be touched, but if I were to touch them, I would make it so that it would disable a card and it will show like a little graphic over the opponent's head with like an X over it showing you what card you're disabling for a couple seconds. That could be pretty useful, but that also might be a little too powerful. But like I said, I don't really think the effect on hit needs to be changed. However, I would like to be able to know how much damage I'm doing with this move. It's very weird that this is like the only move that doesn't show how much damage it does. So yeah, Melt Your Heart is fine enough, but it is also kind of weird simply due to the animation and the hitbox not aligning with each other. How I would fix this is that I would make the hitbox more of a triangular shape, and then to kind of compensate for the shorter range, that making it a triangle, I would make it so that it does more damage the closer you are to Whitesnake, and the less damage that you are the further away from Whitesnake. So at the very start it'll be like 20 damage, and then by the end of the hitbox it'll be more like 10 damage. I also want to change the area denial factors of this move. I feel like this move is supposed to be like a utility move, but it really isn't that good at it. So what I would do is that I would increase the puddle sizes. I would make maybe not as big as a Molotov, but like slightly below it. Not each of them, but like if you were to combine them together, they would be almost as large as a Molotov. From there, I would also give it the purple haze effect. Whenever you step into a purple haze poison, once you step out of the poison, it'll still tick over a little bit. It'll still do a couple more ticks of poison after you leave it. I would do the same thing with Melt Your Heart's acid, so once you step on it, even if you step off of it, you'll still take a couple more ticks of damage. And then for the sleep, I think there's two ways you could go about the sleep status effect, because as of right now, it is not very useful. Either one, make it so that it's easier to put people to fall asleep, but in exchange, make it so that players will wake up when hit. Or what you can do is that you can keep the amount of sleep required to put the opponent to sleep the same, but whenever the damage takes over, once you step off of the acid, the sleep is still invoked. So if you're like 75% of the way asleep and you step off of the puddle and then you take the overtime damage after stepping off of the puddle, you could potentially still fall asleep if you're still taking that damage. I hope that made sense. I think I explained that okay enough. And then once again, if it's too powerful, just make it so that the opponent wakes up whenever you hit them. Those changes should make it so that the move can actually work as a utility move and as an area denial tool, because as of right now, it really doesn't deny area because people can just walk through it scot-free. But that is all of my changes that I can give. If you agree with me, put that in the comment section below. If you disagree with me, you can call me a big fat idiot in the comments as well. But other than that, I think I'm done here. If you like the video, please like and subscribe. Watch my other stuff and enjoy your day. Thank you. Come again later.